I need a new pair of glasses. Remember that scene in How I Met Your Mother where Marshall is like,
I can walk that far.
well, that kinda happens to you when you get yourself a 3D printer. You start looking at stuff and saying, I can 3D print that. If you're like me and you need to pay a subscription just to see the world, you probably know that glasses are kind of expensive actually. Well, not this time. Today we're going to 3D print some frames and then I'm going to take them to the store and order the cheapest set of lenses available. See actually how cheap can I make myself a spare pair of glasses. So these are the frames that we're going to be printing today. The link will be in the description if you want to print them yourself. As you can see, nothing fancy, but I do like that the temples here are open so it's easier to slide in the lens. And also that like the hinge is also 3D printed and like you can swap the legs if you want to. So these are kind of tricky to print and I don't think that's exclusive to this model. I think any type of frame will be tricky to print, especially in FDM printing. If you try to print them like that, you will need support, obviously. It will be the strongest they can be, but you will have a ton of support and the underside is probably going to be pretty rough. So I do advise using the finest setting you have, so the lowest print layer height. So this already helps, but it doesn't actually solve the issues, right? You can also take the opposite path, which would be printing them standing, which reduces a lot the need for support, and they would probably look the best that they can, but they are more fragile. Since, for example, if you try to open the temple here, you force the print along the layer lines and it might split. So what I recommend is something in between. I actually printed them like this with like a slight angle. It's about 30 degrees, which still uses a lot of support, but it's going to be way stronger than the one that's like perfectly standing, you know? So I would recommend either printing it like this or like this. It really depends on what you want. If you print it this way, the insides of the frames will be cleaner, obviously, because there will be no support there. And the outside is going to be uglier because you have to remove a ton of support. Either way should work fine. But again, this is going to be a challenging print no matter like the orientation we go for, and you are going to need a lot of support. For the sides, the thought process is kind of similar. If you printed them like that, which would be like the expected maybe, they would be kind of pretty, but the snap here, which is the hinge, would be weaker in the direction that we need it to be strongest. Which like probably also works, I guess, but I decided to turn them on their side. As you can see, it takes a lot more support material, but the pins here that will mount on the hinge are on just one plane, so they will be much stronger. And also like this opening here, which can flex a little bit, is also going to be pretty strong since it's laying on the bed, you know? So again, not the prettiest, but a good middle ground, I guess, between strength and looks. So I went ahead and 3D printed them. And of course I spent a lot of time afterwards cleaning it up because it was a lot of support material. After that, I took the 3D printed frames to an optical store, and a couple of hours later, I got myself a spare pair of glasses. As you can see, the lenses are a bit thick, that's because of my prescription, but they kind of just fit in inside the frames. And they are also kind of forcing the temples open here, which is not ideal, but I guess it works. I spent like 5 reais of PLA on the frames, which is like less than $1. And I spent around 200 reais in the pair of lenses, which would be like $40. So overall around $41 total, which is pretty inexpensive if you ask me. But since I'm going to be using these for like a week, I thought I might as well print the frames again a little bit larger in order for the lenses to fit better. And I also wanted to put the support material on the outside of the frames so that the insides are as comfortable as they can be. So here we have the new frames on the left and the old ones on the right. And it's also going to be a good test to see how easy would it be to just replace the frames if we broke them. And that's where the temple opening really helps us here, because it made it super easy to just pop the lenses off one frames and put them into the new ones. So here we go. I'm making the switch from my old glasses to the 3D printed ones. So far so good. Tomorrow I'll report back on how things are feeling, and I'll be wearing only these until next Thursday.
The next day.
Okay, so it has been a little under a day. I am definitely feeling the sides here on the left side, but that's something I felt before with store-bought frames as well. And they are also leaving a little bit of a red mark on my nose. And again, that's also something that I've encountered with store-bought frames, especially those metal frames that have those nose pads. They always give me the red mark on my nose. So far, I like them, and nobody even noticed that I changed my frames actually. See you guys in a couple of days, I guess.
3 days later.
Okay, so it's been 4 days now. Some people noticed, some people I told. All of them thought it was pretty cool. I did sense the frames a little bit more. That's an advantage of it being 3D printed. It's still leaving a little bit of a red mark, but again, nothing major or like it's not bothering me at all. Just a little bit when I take the glasses off actually. And my left ear is still, like I can still feel it a little bit, but it's not bothering me as well. And overall, there has been no noticeable effect on my ability to see the world, and I don't have headaches or anything like that. So I think it's going pretty well.
3 days later.
So it has been a week already, so I think I'm ready to take these off, put on my regular pair, and then give you my final thoughts. These are really dirty, I should clean them. One of the things that I would like to say is that I think printing them using PLA was a great idea. Not only because it's super easy to print, but because over time the plastic kind of relaxes. For instance, if we compare how much these sides are open now compared to how much they opened when I started using the glasses, you will see that now they are much wider, which means they fit in quite nicely. And it also means that over time, the frames got more comfortable. Usually the only concern when we talk about using PLA is temperature limits, but honestly for prescription glasses, they should be on your face most, if not all the time. And your face will never be above 60 degrees Celsius. So I'm pretty confident in saying that it should be fine. I know I started this video talking about prices, but I don't think the real value here is in savings, you know? As with a lot of things that are 3D printed, I think we get the most value out of this idea when we think about customization. So if your face is wider or if it's narrower, you can just scale the model to fit in for your head. If they break, you can replace them very quickly and easily. Like it takes a little less than 3 hours to print the whole thing and just a little bit of plastic. And also, you can print them in any type of plastic that you want, in any color. I even found a guide online on 3D printing glasses. On the article, they talk about SLS printing, but obviously that's not something that's accessible to the standard user. But I would say probably that resin performs even better than PLA, especially because the surface finish would already be very smooth. And it's also more suitable for kind of organic or more difficult to print shape compared to FDM printing, right? But I guess that's it for today. See you guys next time.